Colorado State University study, they produced this piece of research that showed that 90% of dogs that were using hemp extract had a reduction in seizure activity.
We don't want to get ripped off.
Getting a potency that's actually going to do something. So
Yeah.
getting a product with enough CBD in it that it's actually going to have effect. You can find a $20 bottle of CBD that is going to look really attractive, but that's going to have 100 milligrams in the bottle. You want something that is going to be at least around 10 milligrams per dose. Either they're going to need it in the moment and you're going to be able to solve the issue then and there, or you're going to want to have it be part of their regimen long term. CBD is just one of over 149 unique cannabinoids that we've discovered. And so when you take an extract of a hemp plant, you're getting all sorts of different cannabinoids if it's full spectrum.
So let's talk a little bit about THC.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Have you ever wondered if CBD could be the key to improving your pet's overall health and well-being? Whether you're looking to ease anxiety, improve mobility, or simply give your furry friend a better quality of life, CBD is quickly becoming a trusted solution for many pet parents. But where do you start? What should you look out for when buying CBD products for your dogs, cats, or horses? And most importantly, is it safe? Today, we're joined by Carter Easler, CBD expert and Director of Education at CBD Dog Health. He will break down everything for you that you need to know about CBD for pets, from the health benefits to how to choose the right product and administer it safely. Whether you're new to CBD or just looking for more information, this episode will give you valuable insights to make informed decisions about integrating CBD into your pet's wellness routine. CBD for pets can be a very misunderstood topic, so we're super excited to share this expert interview and answer all your burning questions today. Let's dive in. Thank you so much, Carter, for joining us today in this podcast episode. We are so excited to have you.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
CBD for pets is such a popular topic, but honestly, it has the potential to really just enhance the life and health of pets so much. So we're very excited to talk to you today about the CBD and the benefits and what to look out for when buying CBD for our pets.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite subjects. So let's dive in.
Yes.
So before we dive into the topic, can you just tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you became a CBD expert?
Yeah, sure. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the Director of Education for CBD Dog Health. And really my work there centers around research and education on the topics of cannabis medicine, so CBD, hemp, marijuana even, and as well as the company MycoDog, which makes medicinal mushrooms for pets. So mushrooms and cannabis for animals really are my area of focus and the thing that I'm really fascinated with. And that started for me when I was pretty young, actually. When I was in my late teens, there was a lot happening in Toronto where I grew up around the activism to have cannabis decriminalized and legalized. And I read this book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes, which went into detail about all the different uses of cannabis, medicinal, as well as a food source, as well as how hemp could be used for building materials. And that really fired me up. So I was voracious in my reading, and I learned, and it made me more and more angry that this incredible natural medicine and resource was being suppressed. And so I started writing about it, and I would write letters to my local MPs. That's Member of Parliament for Americans. So I learned a ton, and I was super passionate about it. And so when I met my friend and mentor, Angela Ardolino, years later, we both just had this history of activism and curiosity and passion for cannabis as a medicine, as a resource. And so we just became fast friends, and I pretty much immediately started working with her. we were introduced by a mutual friend and had kind of like a crazy weekend where we were just, getting into each other's heads. And soon after, I started working with her at CBD Dog Health. Actually lived on her rescue farm for about a year, where I saw firsthand how she was using cannabis medicine and mushrooms and all these different holistic therapies to help senior dogs and farm animals with all sorts of different conditions, everything from allergies to cancer to anxiety, these new dogs coming into an unfamiliar environment that were totally freaked out, and kind of watching this like Florida cannabis witch just go around and use these tinctures and kind of awaken all these things that I had always been so passionate about and saw them in use firsthand. And so she really fostered my ability to dive deeper and start training and learning more, getting certified by places like CIVT in their veterinary cannabis course. And then from there, just continuing to learn and research and write and create videos and podcasts that help break this stuff down for people so they can take a really complicated subject and make it something that they can understand.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
So let's dive into what CBD is. What is CBD for pets?
Well, I think on a really basic level, it's just a great tool to add to your kit that any pet parent has. You're throughout the life of an animal, you're going to have different situations that are going to come up that you're going to have to make a decision of, how do I alleviate suffering, or looking further down the road, which is what we always want to be doing. How do I prevent certain things, anticipate, and just offer better quality of life? And, CBD, hemp extract, cannabis medicine, these are all words for the same thing. It's just a really versatile tool that you can put in your kit to help with a lot of common issues that animals and ourselves are dealing with.
Absolutely. We've been involved in like holistic supplements for so long, but sometimes I get removed from the history of CBD or cannabis, or these supplements, right?
Yeah.
Because they have not always been legal. So maybe just gently touch on like the legalities of CBD, because
Well, I'll try to be gentle, but I'll try to be gentle, but
I know that's like, that can open up a whole nother topic, but I actually do think that it is a little bit important for our listeners and our viewers, because there's so many how do you say, like,
Misconceptions?
Misconceptions. You might hear, oh no, don't do it because of the legalities of it. A lot of people are, this is so confusing to understand CBD.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing, I think we really kind of have a disservice by just simplifying it as CBD. We think of it as CBD, but what we're really talking about when we talk about CBD is the extract of a medicinal plant. So this flowering plant that has all of these different medicinal properties and different kind of active compounds, and CBD is just one of those. And this, in terms of its history, it has been used for thousands of years in medicinal form, as well as I kind of mentioned earlier, in its different industrial and nutritional ways. It has so many uses. I mean, it was required during wartime in the United States for many times that if you had arable land, that you grew hemp. The Declaration of Independence was written on hemp paper. It was not until 1938 that it was there was this PR stunt that happened where they rebranded it. Everybody knew what hemp was, everybody knew what cannabis was, and they rebranded it to marijuana because it sounded different and Spanish and it or Mexican rather, and they did this smear campaign on it, and Congress made it federally illegal. And so until 2018, when the Farm Bill passed, which allowed hemp to be used and produced and purchased in the United States, it was suppressed heavily. It was illegal.
Crazy.
There was one school in the United States up to that point that was allowed to study cannabis medicine, and it was in Mississippi. And so by 2018, the whole world was way beyond us in terms of the research that was being done, and we were still fighting this legal battle, which the evidence is all there. Like the money, you follow the money, and who funded the suppression of cannabis medicine? All the industries that stood to lose from its success. Pharmaceutical,
Yeah.
industrial, yeah.
Big pharma.
We don't
yeah.
have to get
Yeah.
into that. I could talk about this forever. We're
Yeah.
talking about pet parents today.
Yeah, no, definitely. And thank you for explaining that. I think, I mean, the main point here is that like we're talking about something that is now getting a lot of recognition less than 10 years at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because now it's federally legal, right, within the US
Yes.
and a few other countries outside of America. So it's still a long way to go for this plant.
Yeah, yeah. But it's a return. This is something that has been used for so long, that is a cornerstone in the medicinal practices across the world. In traditional Chinese medicine, they speak about the use of cannabis. In Hippocrates, the kind of modern father of medicine in Greek, he talks about the use of cannabis medicine. And we talk about the suppression of information. Regardless of that suppression of information, the science and research has continued, and the people often are like, well, I don't know, I haven't seen the studies, I don't know, and I'm like, let me show them to you.
Yeah.
Let me, because there is both imperial evidence and so much anecdotal evidence, which people often discount, but thousands of cases
Yes.
showing repeatable results
Yeah.
of helping fight issues from arthritis to anxiety to gastrointestinal issues to cancer even. Those are not something that we should just gloss over. And as I said, the imperial evidence is there as well.
So, what are the top benefits of using CBD oil for dogs and cats?
The top benefits for using CBD for dogs and cats, I would start with inflammation-based conditions. And the way that it works for that is it is not only directly anti-inflammatory, but it also kind of on a longer term scale modulates the immune system. It regulates the way that the immune system produces these inflammatory responses. So that's great for joint pain, arthritis, gastrointestinal issues. Any condition that ends with itis is probably an inflammation-based condition that it can be beneficial for. Kind of hand in hand with that is GI issues, IBS and IBD, because we talked about the ECS, the endocannabinoid system.
Yes.
Is the kind of place where the ECS resides is in the gut and the central nervous system. So it is a place where you can directly access gut health. And what we are learning so much in pet health is how central gut health is
Absolutely.
to really everything, to the immune function, to the mental and physical well-being of our animals. And that's a place where you can have really great effects using cannabis. Cancer is another one where we see huge benefits. There's so much research to the many ways that cannabis medicine, including CBD, can be beneficial for animals with cancer. Anxiety, fear, both acute issues, thunderstorms, fireworks, different situations that bring up reactivity, as well as kind of long-term behavioral conditioning. So you get a new rescue in your house and you want to kind of soften their experience a little bit as they're getting used to it. Or you're training a dog that needs to chill out a little bit. There's another situation. And then really, I could go on, but the final one that really I think is important to mention that I saw firsthand many times is controlling seizures and epilepsy. There was one dog on our rescue. She was an 18-year-old Chihuahua, teeny tiny little thing, this like 7-pound dog. And she was old, she was rickety, and she was having the worst seizures, like all day long, grand mal seizures. And she was on every different drug to manage it, wasn't really helping. And we started her on a hemp extract. And over time, after finding her correct dosage, we were able to completely manage these seizures. And that's really the management of seizures and epilepsy is why we have CBD now, because that was the first research that came out that was really undeniable, where Colorado State University study led by Dr. Stephanie McGrath, they produced this piece of research that showed that 90% of dogs that were using hemp extract had a reduction in seizure activity.
Wow.
So it is consistent and reliable, and of course there are going to be different results for different dogs, but it's really fantastic. And oftentimes you can have animals that are really suffering come back to themselves. And so with this old Chihuahua, we saw her get to have full days again.
Nice.
And not be exhausted from being seizing all day, and being able to walk around and interact and be social and not be stressed out. And yeah.
That's so awesome. I mean, honestly, like, it's just so amazing, you know, because when we speak to experts like yourselves, a lot of what we hear is how important the gut-brain axis is.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of it is just like, wow, it's so important to take care of the gut and the brain.
And there's so much we don't know. You know, it is a universe inside our bodies with so many different pieces working together, so many different living microbes and organisms that are all serving symbiotic functions.
Yeah.
And that, here I go nerding out, like that is what I love about cannabis medicine and CBD. Like it's the same thing. It's the same like beautiful, naturally designed complexity that slots right in with our pet systems. CBD is this like beautiful plant extract that contains multitudes of active compounds that all balance each other. CBD is just one of over 149 unique cannabinoids that we've discovered. And so when you take an extract of a hemp plant, you're getting all sorts of different cannabinoids if it's full spectrum.
We use CBD dog health products for our own dog, Milka, and it has helped her so tremendously, like to stay calm, especially. We have been traveling so much with her, and the calm tincture from you guys, it literally leaves whenever we leave the house. It comes with us. So, and it's helped so much. So I know I can attest for myself, my own dog, that it helps tremendously. But when you were actually with Angela Ardolino at the farm, at her rescue farm, was there like a specific case, a specific dog that she treated with mushrooms and cannabis that stuck with you?
Well, I mean, the truth is that everybody was getting it. We had, because the animals that were surrendered to Fireflake Farm, the rescue that Angela owned, they were all kind of the ones that pet owners kind of gave up on. And the local veterinarians said, I don't know, there's nothing else that I can do. Here you go. And so, you know, as you mentioned, anxiety, that was one that we would see all the time, where a new dog coming into a pack of 20 from a challenging environment, you know, would undoubtedly have anxiety and fear and trouble adjusting. And so giving them something that wouldn't just sedate them, but would just kind of take the edge off and allow them to be less triggered by social interactions, resource guarding, trouble sleeping, and crate training, really helpful with crate training in those situations. That was a place where we saw a ton of help, but also we were working with senior animals. We were mostly working with senior animals. And so one in particular, her name was Miss Daisy. We talk about Miss Daisy all the time because she is one of those dogs that's really close to my heart. And she came in just a mess, with a big MCT, a tumor on her hind quarters that was preventing her from really walking very well. She was very foggy in her kind of presence. She was getting lost and low energy. She was uncomfortable. You could tell that she was just in pain. She was just like creaking around. And we changed her diet, got her on real food, nutritious, whole, fresh food, and a daily cannabis regimen. And it was pretty miraculous how quickly we saw this dog start integrating into the pack, becoming more social, having less physical pain, and then this tumor on her back, this like gruesome softball-sized tumor, through the topical application of a hemp salve, as well as the oral, the heel oil that we were giving her. She had a complete transformation. This tumor died. It was gross. It got like pretty necrotic and it was dying. And I was like, Angie, is that okay? And she's like, yeah. Just we'll stick it out, keep it clean.
Yeah.
And this dog was in 6 months. You would never have known that it was the same dog.
Wow.
Yeah, and
So
but
amazing.
there were countless dogs like that.
Yeah.
Like there were so many cases where I feel really lucky having been able to see these dogs come in and their owners had given up hope on them.
Yeah.
In most of those cases, and so they were in rough shape, and to go from there to a dog that's thriving at the end of its life gave me so much hope, knowing that it's not too late. You don't get to a certain point, it's like, well, I guess we might as well just keep feeding them the kibble and like keep giving them all the stuff that my vet just wants me out the door, says to give them. And with this care and a really tailored approach, we saw years added on to these animals' lives.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is so incredible.
It still gives me chills. Like it's been years, and I keep hearing these stories, and they're fresh. They're always fresh because it's personal every time.
And I'm sure a lot of your customers also report back to you with before and after pictures.
That's what I mean. Like there's a constant influx of people just expressing gratitude.
Yeah.
So I feel really lucky. I mean, that I get to do this. Yeah.
And actually, like whenever we bring a new brand or a product into our store, one of the things that we do actually is check the reviews of the products and see what actual people really have to say. And honestly, when I went through the CBD Dog Health website and seeing the verified reviews of what people are saying, about so many different concerns, like such as tumors, such as anxiety, such as allergies, such as, the list just goes on and on and on and on. What would you say makes CBD so special, and how it works with the body that makes it really so much more different than so many other supplements? Because honestly, it's such a multifunctional supplement. It's not really, okay, this supplement is just really good for joints, and it's historically known to be really good for joints.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the risk of getting a little too technical, you stop me if I go too far. But
right.
I geek out on this stuff. But I'm gonna use one big word, and then we'll break it down.
All right.
The thing that I always tell people about that is so cool is there is this system in the body called the endocannabinoid system. It exists in human bodies. It exists in pretty much any vertebrate and many invertebrate animals that we know of. And this system is measurable. It's not just a concept. We can find the number of receptors for the system.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the job of the endocannabinoid system, or the ECS, is to maintain balance between all the body's different systems and functions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is everything from balancing the immune system, tumor surveillance,
Mm-hmm.
bone physiology, circadian rhythm, the pituitary adrenal axis, so the different hormones and the neurological system.
Mm-hmm.
It touches all these different systems, and its primary function is to keep them in balance. So what it's doing in essence is just enabling the body to do what it already knows how to do, and just kind of taking the roadblocks out of the way so the body can function better. So it's not CBD is great for inflammation, but it's different from an NSAID, where an NSAID is like a single molecule. Carprofen is a single molecule with a targeted effect of downgrading this type of inflammation. CBD works with the whole immune system to encourage the body to have an inflammatory response that is appropriate and to whatever is happening. Because inflammation isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
The body needs inflammation a lot of the time. And so these kinds of like on-off switch alternatives are not necessarily what you want. You want something that is going to work with the body, doing what it already knows how to do. But as I said before, this is a really fantastic tool. And sometimes there are other tools that you should be using. You know, it's not a silver bullet.
Yes.
Also. And this idea that it's just going to fix everything, I think, is what has turned a lot of people off. And you know, you have a lot of people saying like, oh, well, it does everything. It does a lot of things really well. And there are certain cases where we're using a layered approach to manage different things. Like if you have a dog that's experiencing serious allergies, hemp extract is going to be fantastic for balancing the immune system, reducing acute inflammation in the moment, putting something topically like a hemp salve on their skin where they're coming out in a rash.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with it. But if we're not addressing the underlying issues, and we look and see what kind of food are they eating, what kind of environmental allergies are maybe they experiencing, there's no CBD or any supplement that is going to account for that.
So you've already explained the many incredible benefits of CBD for our animals. How often would a pet parent need to use CBD to see the benefits?
That's a good question. It depends. It depends the outcomes that you're looking for. So first, if you're just using it acutely, say you've got a dog that's afraid of fireworks, you may use that on the 4th of July and on New Year's Eve. And otherwise, your dog may be totally fine. And it's totally okay to just use it in those situations. Once you figure out kind of how much your animal needs. I think with anxiety especially, it's one of those cases where you got to figure out what your pet is going to respond to best. And some pets are going to need different dosages to calm down. But once you figure that out, you can use it kind of situationally. Then by that same token, for anxiety, you may have a dog that has some long-term anxious, fear-based behaviors that you're going to be wanting to use it every day to kind of curb those things. Same goes if you have any kind of chronic disease, any arthritis or gastrointestinal upset, cancer. You're going to be wanting to use it every day until that issue is balanced. And in many cases, if you have animals that are predisposed to certain conditions, you might just want to have it at a low level included indefinitely. There are so many animals that are getting cancer now that certain breeds, especially large breeds, I would recommend that they just be on some supplements that are going to be there to control inflammation and regulate the body's response to being able to find cancer cells and hunt them down and boost the body's immune system's ability to kind of police the body for cancer. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
that was like
No.
sort of meandering. Either they're going to need it in the moment, and you're going to be able to solve the issue then and there, or you're going to want to have it be part of their regimen long term. And then from there, you kind of want to consider how you're administering it throughout the day. There are certain things that I would recommend just so that you get the most out of it. Administering it with food is going to have it better absorbed in the body. It's a fat-soluble molecule, so having something fatty in the gut is going to have it better absorbed. It matters also how often you give it. So, for instance, with a dog with epilepsy, like the one on our rescue that we were talking about, CBD will stay in the body for between 6 and 8 hours at a really measurable level. So if you're controlling pretty aggressive seizures, you probably want to dose them twice a day. And then another thing to remember for cases like anxiety, just about how it works in the body, it will peak in concentration around 2 hours after you've administered it. So where I think a lot of people get off track is, say they're taking their dog to the groomer and your dog hates the groomer and they freak out, and as soon as they know that they're going to the groomer and they're inconsolable. Well, a lot of those people will just give CBD once they're in the car on their way there. And by that point, cortisol is pumping through their veins. They are freaked out and they're in the groomer in 15 minutes. With the knowledge that it's going to take 2 hours to peak in concentration in their body, you probably want to, before you take out a carrier or a crate or anything, or put them in the car, take the leash out, you want to calm them down. Maybe an hour before, you give them some of the calm tincture or another hemp extract, so that by the time you're indicating that they're going somewhere, they couldn't be bothered. You don't have a chance for that fight or flight to get activated, and so you have way better outcomes.
That is such amazing information to know, because like we actually, I think, we could be doing better actually at timing our CBD for Milka when we travel, because we do oftentimes just give it to her like 30 minutes before. So knowing that now, definitely we should start a lot earlier.
I mean, that's not bad. 30 minutes, it's still going to be in their system at 30 minutes. That's so much better than just like right before, because then we end up just dosing more and more.
Yeah,
and while that's safe, I want to put that on the record. It is extremely safe to experiment with dosage, and if your animal hasn't had enough, if you're, say, for anxiety or for pain and inflammation, if your dog is still in pain and you're using hemp extract for that purpose, give them more. You can absolutely give them more. It is really safe even at extremely high doses. But back to the case of anxiety, once they're freaked out, it's like punching through a brick wall. You could give them anything, and you're not going to get through that.
That's such a good point. So when it comes to administering the CBD oil to our pets, would you say giving it on the food is better than giving it directly in the mouth?
I say whatever works for you is the best way to do it, because so many people stop using CBD oil because it's difficult. Because they're, I will say the best way, the most bioavailable way, meaning the way that the body's going to absorb the most benefits, is by putting it directly on their gums. This way it is absorbed through that mucosal membrane in the gums and under the tongue, and it goes right into the bloodstream. It works faster, you get more out of it, and what doesn't go into the gums goes into the gut, and they absorb it that way. You're going to get the most out of that. But that's not every dog. Every dog is not going to allow you to put a tincture in their mouth. And that's just the reality of it. So instead of saying like, well, didn't work, you can absolutely put it in the food. Anticipate that you might need higher doses. You might need to raise the dose 50 to 75% in order to make up for what is lost through the first pass of the liver and degradation in the gastrointestinal system. And it might take a little longer, but it's absolutely beneficial there. And then even beyond that, say you've got cats that you put anything in their food and they won't eat it. There are still ways that you can administer it to them. Transdermal administration is another way, lowest on kind of the scale of bioavailability. So to the gums, in the food, transdermally, to cats' paw pads. Cats' paw pads are highly vascularized and have really thin skin. It will absorb through there. And a lot of cats, so you put it, when you're petting them on the couch, put a little on their paws and they'll be like, but then they'll lick it and groom themselves. It will, so they will ingest it partially and also have some on their paw pads. You can also put it in the inside of the ear for dogs and cats. The pinna is, again, very thin skin that's highly vascularized. It will absorb some. In those cases, definitely use quite a high potency oil. Like our tinctures are broken up by the condition that they target as well as the potency. So our Calm and Ease tinctures are on the lower potency side, whereas our Heal tincture has about 4 times as much CBD as those. So you would want to be using a more high potency oil for transdermal application, or probably to the food as well.
No, that was so well said, because I think that is something that could throw people off from continuing with the products, because like, oh, my dog absolutely hates when I put anything into the mouth, and then they might think, oh, well, maybe putting in the food is not effective, but that's not true. Just maybe increase the dose. And what you said, it's what did you say, 50 to 75% more? Or
it's not exact.
Okay.
You know, the window of application is pretty wide. It's pretty forgiving. So it's going to be something that you just kind of have to observe and see over time how it works.
And you know what, like, you know, every time I talk to you guys, anybody from the team, you know, what you guys always say is that we can like play with it, right? And see what works for our animals. So I guess in this case, it would be the same exact thing. We can increase the dose and see what works. So if your animal does not like tinctures by the mouth, we can increase the dose over the food. They cannot overdose on
They cannot
CBD.
overdose. On
Excellent.
a true, organic, full spectrum, pure product, you want to make sure that your product has a certificate of analysis. Whether you use CBD dog health products or not, a certificate of analysis will show exactly what is in that product. So when they say 500 milligrams of full spectrum hemp extract on the bottle, you can go to those lab results and see that that is indeed what is in there, as well as all the things that should not be in there. Heavy metals, pesticides, pathogens. They should be testing for all of that as well and be really transparent and showing you those results. They should make it easy for you to find. Ours are on QR codes on every bottle, every jar of salve. And that's necessary because it's a very unregulated industry. There was a study done in 2019 by Cornell where they tested 30 of the top CBD brands for label accuracy, and only 10% of them were within a 10% range of what they said on their labels. There were 6 of them that came back with heavy metals. There were 4 of them that didn't have any CBD in them at all. So none. Hemp seed
That's
oil.
insane.
It was just hemp seed oil, which is great, high in omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, but amounts to basically
not at
salad
that price
dressing.
point.
So if you're trying to help an animal with seizures with hemp seed oil, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Wow.
I mean, that's going to lead us into one of our questions, right?
Yeah.
How do we choose the right CBD oil for our animals? Just because, as you said, we don't want to get ripped off. Like when you're talking about hemp seed oil versus CBD oil, that is a significant price difference. If they're giving you hemp seed oil inside of a CBD tincture, which usually they're sold in completely different sizes, you know, you're talking about a product that might actually end up costing a company probably less than $2, honestly. And they're selling it at like $90, $100.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Please.
Well, I think that a lot of people, there's a lot of talk about kind of the price point, and that can be a real sticking point for people, because it can look like a lot of money up front. Say you've got a $75 bottle, and you're weighing that and you're going, well, how do I do this? If it's like, is it going to work? And that's a lot to be doing on a recurring basis. But, I mean, the first thing is good companies should offer refunds if things don't work. We have a really low return rate, and but we still say like, hey, if you don't like it, send it back to us. But beyond that, to know that you're getting something that is going to be high quality and that you can expect success with, things you want to look for are, you want to make sure it's full spectrum, meaning that it has all of those naturally occurring therapeutic molecules, including CBD, but so many other ones. It's not refined down to its isolated forms, such as a broad spectrum or an isolate CBD. You want something that is organically grown in the United States. That's really important because hemp is a bioaccumulator. It will suck up basically anything in the soil. So if there's lead, if there's different minerals or pesticides or things in the soil from runoff from a farm down the road, hemp will take that up into its plant material. It's really amazing that. And when they were trying to clean up the area around the Chernobyl disaster, they used hemp and mushrooms to clean the soil because it is such a good bioaccumulator. So you don't want that in your medicine. You want it to be grown in a really clean, safe environment. As I said, certificates of analysis. You want it to be tested by a third-party lab, not by the company themselves in their own backroom lab saying, yep, it's clean and it's good and it is what we say it is. You want it is a third party that certifies that it is what it says it is. You want it to be harvested from the best parts of the plant, from the flower, not from the stalks and the seeds and the leaves, which unfortunately a lot of pet products, they'll have a human brand and a pet brand, and the pet brand of their subsidiary gets kind of the throwaway ingredients. And I mean, some of these things you probably wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at a brand, because marketing is amazing. Marketing is amazing. So for that, I say, read the reviews.
Yes.
Read the reviews, look at what people are saying about how it's actually working for them, and then look at the people behind the products. Look at who's doing it and why. Our founder, Angela Ardolino, she's one of the only and one of the first people to be certified and trained in the therapeutic use and biology of medical cannabis with experience in rescue. And so you can look at the products that she's formulated and created, that I work with every day, and you know who it was made for, why they did it. You can see their story and see also that like formulas aren't changing as the winds change. You know, they knew how to create this medicine and they did it the first time right.
That's amazing.
So to summarize, the biggest things to look out for are the fact that you want a full spectrum hemp extract. You want to check the certificate of analysis and make sure that it is tested by a third party to be free of heavy metals and that there is actual CBD in it. And it is all the compounds that the bottle says are in there are also on the analysis as well.
Yeah.
And and like, personally, for myself, for my own consumption and also for my pet consumption or for the consumption of my dog, I always love to, just stick with the brands that I know have done the research, and I've vetted them like one time, and then generally, for me personally, I stick to the brand, even if products might be more expensive, but I know what I'm getting and I know the quality is worth it. And especially for something like CBD, when pets are taking this for a health concern, like you don't want to, get something cheaper that's just not going to work or even worse. So
yeah, and I wish that I could be trusting of the brands that I love, but it unfortunately is one of those things where we have to keep looking. We have to stay up on how these brands are formulating, where their sourcing is, because people get bought out.
No, it's true.
And things change, and the changes can be very subtle, and you might not recognize it. I can think of several cases in our world that I will not mention here.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and then for one more thing that I think is important to mention is getting a potency that's actually going to do something. So
Yeah.
getting a product with enough CBD in it that it's actually going to have effect. You can find a $20 bottle of CBD that is going to look really attractive, but that's going to have 100 milligrams in the bottle. You want something that per dose is going to be at least around 10 milligrams per dose for kind of entry level conditions. And so for our product, what that looks like is 550 milligrams in a 2-ounce bottle. So if you had a 1-ounce bottle, 550 milligrams would be twice as potent. There's like a little bit of math, but these companies should tell you how much is in a dose, and that will indicate how potent the product is. You'll have to use less product over time. You will have greater economies of scale as if you have a more potent product, your price per milligram of CBD is lower. So it can look like a lot at first. Your $75 tincture might have 5 times as much as your $30 tincture. And so per milligram, you're paying way less. It will last you longer. And you'll just get more out of it.
Absolutely. Thank you for adding that. And I know your website and our website as well, we have like the pictures there that show people exactly how to do the math or how to administer it and how much to give. So it's like, it sounds a little complicated at first, but it really isn't.
It's really not. It's just something that we want to give in a lot of different ways. Some people are visual learners. I want to be able to see, okay, so I've got a dropper full and this much is 9 milligrams and that's a standard dose.
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for those visual learners out there, check out our website.
So let's talk a little bit about THC.
Are you sure?
Yeah. So we talked about what to look out for when buying a CBD oil for our pets. And we also said that it is important to look for a full spectrum CBD product, which would also include THC. So can you talk a little bit about that? Is it safe for pets? How much is safe for pets? And does it make our pets high?
Great question. So THC is the second most abundant cannabinoid in hemp, in cannabis. It is second only to CBD in hemp. And it has so many different beneficial therapeutic values. It's anti-cancerous, it's neuroprotective, it's anti-inflammatory, it's great for gut health, and it causes psychoactivity. There are certain side effects. It in high levels, it will make us high. That's what we know it for. But when we're using a hemp product, that THC level is very low. That level is 0.3% on a dry weight basis or lower. So it's really, there's a tiny little amount of THC in there in a hemp product. You really shouldn't see any kind of psychoactive effects with your dog using a hemp product. But it is really important that little bit of THC is in there. There are, if I can geek out again,
Go ahead.
the receptors in our pets' bodies that CBD binds to, so think of like a lock and a key, CBD will not directly bind to those receptors without the presence of THC. So THC has to be there being like, hey buddy, go ahead, it's fine. Let me open the door for you. Without that, it does not directly bind. So it's integral to the way that these things work. And by trying to strip things down and take it out, the only reason we do that is because in the human industry, people were being tested for drugs in their places of work. And so they started creating broad spectrum products. And also, our animals are more sensitive to both CBD and THC. They have more receptors in their endocannabinoid system than humans. They're more receptive to this medicine, which is the great news. But also the the psychoactive side effects are more pronounced in them. So just to reiterate, unlikely that your pet's going to get high on a hemp tincture. But I'm working with a dog right now who has osteosarcoma. He is one of my dear loves in this life, Henry. And Henry is taking a lot of THC because THC is specifically beneficial for cancer, for both the pain and its anti-cancerous benefits. So Henry, every night, he gets a little high.
Yeah.
Henry, we wait to do it at night. His daytime dose, we do a high dose of a CBD dominant hemp tincture. And then at night, before he goes to bed, Henry gets about 10 milligrams of a what's called a Rick Simpson oil. It's a full extract of cannabis. So it's got pretty high levels of THC. And in that hour before bed, he's a little woozy, but it has been fantastic for him. His pain has gone down enormously. His vets said that he would live another 2 months, and he's been thriving well beyond that. So there are cases where you might want more THC, but most pets are going to thrive on just a little bit that's in a hemp extract.
Okay, so most full spectrum hemp extracts, such as CBD Dog Health, for example, you have the 0.3% of THC, and pets do not get high from that.
Very rarely. There are cases where we're dosing really high. So some cases where animals are in a great deal of pain, where you might want to have up to 100 milligrams of CBD.
Yeah.
So say our heel tincture, our most potent dog tincture, has around 40 milligrams of CBD. Some of those dogs are getting up to 100 milligrams, 3 droppers a day of that.
Yeah.
That's got a significant amount of THC in it. And so at first, usually, they may have a reaction that they get a little bit high, especially if you're dosing them right at that high level immediately and their body's not used to it. But that diminishes over time.
Is that something to worry about, though?
Absolutely not. As long as they are comfortable. We don't want to scare them. I mean, if you've ever seen a person or you've experienced being too high, it's not fun. But that's why I think it's really important just to treat this medicine with respect and to know that you can go slow, that you can work up to those dosages, and you shouldn't have to get your animal high to see the effects. But even if they do get a little funny, then that's okay. They're not going to be. There is no damage that is being done on a cellular level, tissue, organ. It is completely safe for them. And they've done tests where they gave intravenous doses of thousands of milligrams of THC to dogs. Thousands, more than you could ever ingest if they drank a whole bottle of even our horse products.
Wow.
And even in those cases, there are the adverse effects are some diarrhea, extended lethargy, and these are cases you would never do this if you were intentionally dosing your animals. You would never give them that much.
Yeah.
So it is extremely safe. But like any powerful medicine, you want to do it with an intention, and more is not necessarily better.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for
does that
clarifying.
answer it?
Yeah.
So I actually have another question for you. How soon can a pet parent expect to see results? Because I think some people might be going off of the traditional medication and they hear about this wonderful plant and they want to give it to their animal. How soon should they expect to see results realistically?
So I would say that you're going to have some effects immediately and some effects over time. And again, this depends on the condition that you're dealing with. You can help with anxiety pretty much immediately with the right dose. You can have a dog, so you took your old dog on an extra long walk and they're feeling a little joint pain, they're kind of hobbling around the house. You can give them something that will deal with the pain and inflammation pretty much immediately, within an hour. they're going to be feeling better. Say you have a dog with pretty serious allergies. Even in those cases, you're going to be able to give them some immediate relief from the itchiness and the discomfort of the pruritus in their skin and the inflammation. But then the prolonged immunoregulatory effects, those are going to happen over a matter of weeks and potentially months. So certain things happen right as you're administering it, as you're giving it to them. But then a lot of these kind of like zoom out, more large scale balancing effects, those are happening over time as you would want them to.
Yeah.
You know, these are very complex systems, and that is the body's way of kind of reorganizing itself. It takes a little time. And that is often kind of why we turn to pharmaceuticals in our time of need.
Yeah.
Is they work fast. You see immediate results. But I think that you can have similar results using natural medicine when used correctly.
Yes, absolutely.
When our French Bulldog had her IVDD injury, we immediately gave her the yeast tincture, which is great for reducing inflammation and pain even. So we seen it worked very well in conjunction with all the other holistic remedies we gave her right away.
What else were you giving her?
A lot.
Yeah.
So we have lots of homeopathic remedies there from Adored Beast. We did red light therapy as well. What else? We did lots of herbs that are also
Bone broth.
anti-inflammatory.
We were doing bone broth to like help with the joints. We were doing, oh man, everything natural we threw at it, because at the end of the day, a lot of what we're just talking about is simply food, right? We're talking about medicinal plants. You know, that's pretty much was the bulk of her recovery. Plants and some collagen and
Mushrooms.
Yeah.
And for everyone listening, we do have a YouTube video on that as well, where we were able to manage Milka's IVDD injury 100% naturally under veterinary supervision. But CBD played a huge role in it, and we continue to use it to actually help prevent IVDD injuries in the future. So,
I have a Frenchie in my life as well named Beatrice, and B suffers from IVDD as well. And she's one of those cases where I was like, I don't care if she gets a little high. She's like, she is in pain right now. I gave her our horse tincture. I gave her our horse ease, which is what a lot of people choose to do who have multi-dog families or they're managing a serious disease. I have it for myself. So I went to my own medicine cabinet and just gave her a heavy dose of that. Because especially in those situations where it's just happened, you've just had a disc slip and something she's in real pain, those moments right after are precious.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
reducing inflammation at that time, I consulted with a lot of my veterinary advisors and people like Krista Fox, who really helped me kind of understand, because she has a pug who dealt with IVDD. She really taught me, like, you have to act quickly to reduce that inflammation through the spinal column so that you don't get permanent damage. And CBD is a way that you can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I'm very passionate about holistic first aid, and for every pet parent to have, just a very couple of important products at home, just as like CBD, for example, or homeopathy, like to just be able to, in any situation, help your dog right away or your cat. It's so important. Yeah.
Definitely. It's definitely part of my holistic toolkit among a lot of those other things that you mentioned.
Yeah. And how do veterinarians usually deal with CBD and pets? Like, are they on board or are they usually not? What can pet parents expect?
It varies so much depending on, I think, mostly just their exposure to it. There are a lot of vets who are totally overwhelmed with what they have. I mean, what other field do we expect our generalists to be specializing in
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And so, our vets don't have time to learn about this new system, or at least that's how they feel. The endocannabinoid system and these new promising modalities. So there are a lot of vets who really get it and who are studying it and using it in practice. Our network of veterinarians across the country is enormous, and they're seeing fantastic results. But then there are a lot of conventional and some integrative vets even that I just think haven't had as I said before, they want to see the research, and they don't have time to look up and read it. Even and it so it takes pet parents coming to them and being like, hey, I've heard about this. I want to try this. Can I try it? Over and over again. And eventually they get it, because where do they traditionally learn about new therapies? From pharmaceutical companies that have a lot more budget to get in front of them, to send reps out in droves, to go to their offices and buy them dinners and send them free stuff, and so they know how to get in front of them, and so that's what they see. Our little holistic companies making plant medicine, we don't have the same budget, and so it takes word of mouth from people to remind our medical community of something that has been a long-standing, powerful therapeutic that should be in everyone's toolkit.
I'm so happy that you just said that, because, I think as a pet parent, we have a lot more power than we actually may think, especially when you go on your website or our website. We have links to all of these studies. Print them out. Go to your vet, be respectful, say, hey, I seen this. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts? And that will get the bug in the air talking, like, all right, hey, let's try it and let's see.
And also, at the end of the day, your vet is not the final person to make decisions about your pet's health. So at the end of the day, even if your vet is not on board with it, you have a lot of experts that you can come to. You can go to CBD Dog Health. You can come to us at Podega. You can go to a holistic vet or an integrative vet and talk to people about your options. So yeah, that's also always very important to remember.
I mean, in a perfect world, I want everybody to have a team of wellness experts around them. And that includes folks like yourself, who are so knowledgeable that people can come to and ask questions. The brands like ours that fund education, like my whole job is education and research. And that is why I'm able to do this. We have determined that it is important to have science and evidence and education out there. And as well as, if your vet is not open to having discussions about these kinds of things, then maybe that vet you only use for specific things. Maybe that's the vet that you use for emergency situations when you need a specific type of care. But then you have somebody online who's more like a longevity coach, who's a veterinarian that might not live in the same state as you,
or country,
but offers online or phone or virtual consultation to answer some of these questions where they have the time to specialize and to learn more and be educated about this. While your vet is buried under paperwork and doing surgery.
Absolutely. That is so important. And for anyone listening, where can they find you or find more information about what you guys are doing?
You can find us at CBD Dog Health on pretty much all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and our website, cbddoghealth.com. And our sister company, MycoDog, is mycodog.com and at Mushrooms for Dogs.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you got a ton of value from this episode today. If you're ready to start exploring CBD for your cat, dog, or horse, you can check out CBD Dog Health products at podega.us and enjoy 10% off your first order with code CBD. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with your friends or post it on social media. Let's spread the word together and help more pets live their healthiest lives. See you in the next episode.